The engine is starting up.
For launch. GC, go. Guidance, go. Fido, go. Prop, go. GNC, go. Max, go. Eagle, go. Ecom,
go. Pending final steps to cabin link check.
3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the Riff Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you could need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Riff Nation Network. I'm your host, Joni Skinner, for Mysteries Beyond the Scenes on another Wednesday evening where astrology meets true crime and other mysteries. I hope everybody's doing well. We are streaming live tonight on, naturally, YouTube, Facebook, and I think Twitch. I think we're still on Twitch as well. So please join us every Sunday through Saturday for Riff Nation Network shows, varieties of shows. How are y'all tonight on this lovely Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time? I hope y'all are doing well. It's good to see you, Miss Linda. How are you? Thank you, Keith. Go through the chat and say hello. Hello, Miss Denise. How are you? Thanks, Keith. I hope y'all are doing okay. Thanks, Ashley. How are you, dear? She shared out too. You guys are great. Remember, please smash that like button and please share. That helps us with the show. Get our oh, my thing isn't going up on the chat. What is it? What is going on with this thing? My finger must be like slimy or something. I don't know. How are you, Miss Lee? How are you, hon? Thanks, everybody, for sharing out. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Renee. Well, where is Miss Tammy? I know, Lee, here we go again. Miss Tammy always wants, I want to have 2 cases per show, Joni. Every single time I do 2 cases per show. Where's Tammy? Where's Tammy? You guys, we are going to give Tammy a hard time when she shows up because I purposely do 2 shows now. I do 2 cases now because of Tammy. And she has ghosted us. She's completely ghosted us. So, well, she'll be here. Keith said you can also support the RNN by sending stars. Thank you very much for stars. Miss Denise says she's doing good. Glad you. Oh, don't get me started on that, Denise. Okay, if you guys remember, last Wednesday, I was waiting for the storms, right? Okay, so of course, I did again. I think, did we have? Yeah, we did have, I think, more sirens, I think. Well, now Cincinnati is flooded. We're completely flooded. But it's the Ohio River crested. It's at 60 feet, which it hasn't been that way in 20 some years. So pretty much up to like the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium, all of the parks on both sides of the river, Kentucky and Ohio, are flooded. And some towns that are on the river have been evacuated for flooding. But it has crested, so keep your fingers crossed. When the Ohio River recedes and it crests, it goes down very, very quickly. It is supposed to be back down below flood stage by Friday, I think. So it's a very quick process if you live on a river, that it's like the anticipation of it going up and up and up, and then it crests. And then, boy, when it comes down, it comes down. Now, because the Ohio River's up further north, places like Louisville, and places on down into like New Orleans. If you think about it, New Orleans and on down, everything by the Ohio River, it turns into the Mississippi could get flooded. Our rain has gone away now. We did see the sun yesterday for the first time in about a week. That was bad. I think a lot of places got about a foot of rain. You know what was really weird? And I know we've talked about it as a mystery on the show, and we're still up in the air about, the things that can happen with the clouds and the storms and the rains. I have never seen this in this area, but on the night of the very severe storms, our lights in the skies over Cincinnati, the color of the sky was bright red. The entire sky, when it lightnings and it lights up the sky, bright red. I've never seen that in my life, ever. There's been a lot of weird things that have happened with this weather. It's very weird indeed, but that's a whole nother show. So let's get started. I've got, this is an interesting show. And as many of you all know, when the JFK files came out, which we have covered the JFK astrology event chart, which is just very revealing before. So, of course, there were 80,000 documents that came out, and a couple of the documents included sightings of Hitler. And I thought, I have never looked at his chart. Now, how did that happen that would escape me, that I would not look at Adolf Hitler's event chart, his natal chart? Somebody this quote unquote evil, you want to look at his natal chart. You want to look and see what's wrong with this guy. Clearly, Wait till you see his natal chart. I've got some things I want to point out to you guys that I found interesting. Now, what's even more interesting, what my father was in World War II, and my mother was certainly alive. And I asked my mom about what happened in Germany with the unaliving situation. And I said, did people in America know what was going on in Germany? Did people that, the regular collective? And mom used, they would go to the movies to get the news back during the wartime. They would get letters, but they would go to the movies, and that's how they would see the news or the radio. And she said, we knew something was going on. We didn't know what. We didn't know to the atrocity that it was. But we knew because of reports that were coming out. They knew there was something, but they really didn't know. So I think it's very, very interesting when you all look at this event chart. I think he had a body double killed. I just can't see someone like him succumbing to anyone. Wait until you see this chart, because I think so too. I don't. I really do too, hon. I do too. Hello, Miss Lois. Hello, Chris. My boyfriend's dad was picked up and put in the work camp. Interesting. Hello, Miss Lois. Welcome. Come on in, dear. You're going to enjoy this chart, Lois, of Hitler. So let's get started, everybody. I can't wait to show you guys this chart. And also, we had on March 28th, we have another mystery that I want you guys to look at too. Wait until you see this chart. March 28th, a mother and her 8-year-old son were unalived in their home at 10:15 a.m. in the morning in Utah. So we're going to look at that case as well tonight. And this case, I don't know if you guys have heard about it. Jessica Lyman and her little son, little Eli, who is 8 years old, he was found as well. Of course, law enforcement is zero, nothing. So we know when LE isn't talking, they know who did it. And so I've got that chart as well. So we'll get through that tonight. I hope everybody's doing well. Well, yeah, Keith said it's called HAARP. 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 Okay, so the rumor is, now I remember this rumor, you guys, when I was a little girl, we had these magazines at the grocery store, and my mom would say, "Get away from that. That's just fake. That's fake magazine. Quit looking at it." There were always sightings of Hitler that were always on the front page of what it was called the National Enquirer when I was a kid. Always sightings. And I remember, it was like, nobody would believe that. So, but there were always sightings. So let's get into this a little bit deeper. Okay, so we've got a picture here of his beautiful bride, his beautiful wife, Eva Braun. That is Eva Braun. So we've got her chart to look at as well. Eva and Adolf. Eva Braun. And now I'm not going to get too much into his life because I think we all know the backstory about him. September 1935, they took away the citizenship rights of the German Jews. November of 1938, the looting and burning of the Jewish businesses, synagogues, and homes. And and books. 7,500 businesses. And then they opened the first concentration camp in 1938. And the whole collective turned on this one group of people. So then we know that he came up with the SS, the rise of him. His sharpest assaults were against the communities and the Jewish people. And I'm going to show you in his chart, too, where I found that. The shattered German economy played right into the Nazi Party's hands. Now, he tried to have a coup and was put in jail. He wrote a book called The Rise and Fall of Mein Kampf. I read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, but he wrote a book called Mein Kampf in jail. The shattered German economy played right into Nazi Party's hands. He was against the communists and the Jewish population. He was appointed chancellor in 1933. He established a secret police, which we know as the SS or the Gestapo. State-controlled press, imagine that. And a state-controlled education system, imagine that. His rearmament of Germany and massive public works brought Germany out of the Depression. So he was the hero, brought him out of the Depression. And I'm going to show you, okay, this is the photograph of the bunker that they allegedly found him and Eva Braun in. Allegedly, she had taken a cyanide pill, and allegedly he had taken a cyanide pill and then put a bang to his head. Okay. The Russian army took control of the head, skull remains. They were set on fire by his people, allegedly. But now, allegedly, after people have performed DNA and testing on that alleged skull, it has turned out to be a female. That's what the rumors are. Now, there are what people call the rat lines. The rat lines. That was something new that I had not known. The Red Cross, the Catholic Church, and other leaders of countries assisted the top military people, and allegedly him and his entourage, to escape. The Red Cross, the Catholic Church, and other leaders, okay, allegedly to get to Argentina and Colombia. And we know that there was a huge population in Colombia and Argentina. Okay, so here are the different routes. So, there are different routes that he allegedly took, that that 5 days after he took a U-boat and ended up. Now, we do know, and a lot of people I don't think probably still don't know this, but they can certainly look it up because there's all kinds of government files of documentation that from 1945 to 1955, the U.S. had what was termed Operation Paperclip, where they brought in nearly 1,000, and that's disputed, 1,000 German scientists to become American citizens. Some say it was up to 35,000. Many have been longtime members of that party and the Gestapo and had done atrocities at the camps. So Operation Paperclip, they became citizens and they worked with the CIA, NASA. So we do know that one member of Operation Paperclip went on to form what was called not only Operation Paperclip, but they had other CIA operatives. So it could have been 1,000, it could have been 35,000. I would probably be more on the 35,000 level. So one of them continued in America, and that was mind control, known as the CIA's Project MK Ultra. Allegedly was found by one of these nice people. So we have Operation Paperclip. Now, we've got some information, and here are some top secret, reports that in September of 45, there are sightings of him upon his landing by submarine in Argentina, that he had been hiding out in the foothills. So information obtained. So there were sightings that people went to law enforcement. Now, this one is particularly interesting because we have somebody that came to LE and said, I can, in September of 1955, a trusted friend of this particular informant said that they knew where Hitler was. He was residing in Colombia. And in 1955, he had moved to Argentina, and that he had a picture, an alleged picture of Hitler. So this informant went and got the picture and turned it over to the authorities. Okay, here's the picture. This is the alleged picture. He borrowed the photograph long enough to take it to the authorities, and it was returned to the owner the following day. So that's the alleged picture. Now, there are also sightings of him that where he was, there were a lot of sympathizers in Argentina, and many, many more sightings. There is a documentary called The Gray Wolf, if you would like to really get more information on this. Everything that Hitler had, he referred to things with the wolf. That was like his spirit animal. U-boats, battles. It was always the gray wolf. So that's the name of this documentary. It's very, very interesting, where doctors have come forward that treated him. They allege that he sired with Ava, had 2 children. That's alleged. Okay, so that's alleged. And let's see. Let me see what you guys are saying. So that's kind of the background. Okay, and Howie said Hitler had connections here in Virginia. He and Zimmerman were communicating with Dr. Jarnette of Western State Mental Asylum, working in eugenics. I believe it. There are way too many. Unfortunately, the sneakiness of the Operation Paperclip, where the American people knew nothing, absolutely nothing about that. They would have gone ballistic had they heard that. With Operation Paperclip, they were here and that they were granted citizenship to be United States citizens after this war. And then MK Ultra. MK Ultra appears to have been born out of Paperclip. And then Howie says Stargate, MK Ultra, Montauk Project, and the MK Ultra project was the mind control, which they still use today. They still are, because MK Ultra was back in the 80s, 70s and 80s. They're not these are just, it's out there. You can read all about it. Yes, there were many, many sympathizers, many buildings and settlements. Yes. Oh, absolutely. It was filled. And what's even more interesting is the great president of Argentina is declassifying everything that they have on them being there. So as soon as he declassifies this information, we're going to get the truth. We are going to get the truth about what happened and was he there. And I think it's wonderful that we're getting all of this declass information because of the fact it's, alerting other countries to do it as well, which I can't wait to see this. So, hi, Miss Kathy. How are you? Okay. Mr. Odell, the Nazi regime was very deep here in the U.S. It is said that we may not have won the goal of the war after all. I agree with that. I agree. Very, very deep. Very, very deep tentacles. I don't think people... Are you kidding me? Whoopsie. Well, you know what it's because of who it is. It'll probably get knocked off of YouTube too. Well, let's quit using the name. I'll quit talking about it. It did because I did a post on TikTok about it, and it had to go through review, and TikTok did put the review through. So maybe they just don't want people to talk about it. Well, we'll see if it gets booted, Howie. Thanks, Carrie Lynn. We got booted. I'm kind of proud of that. That's kind of like a badge of honor to get booted. So here we go, guys. It shut down, not I shut down. Thanks, Carrie Lynn. It's kind of like a badge of, yeah, that's what they think we're doing, and we are not. Because there's a lot of that name calling going around at this time, and I think they're trying to stop a lot of that, which I get, but we're not. So we just watch what we say. Maybe I don't know. We'll see if we can keep it up. But whoopsie. Okay, here is that's exactly true. That you're right, Howie. I should have been careful not even to say the name. I'm glad they're doing that. I think that's something they should keep an eye on. I agree with it. I really do agree with that for once. I do agree with something like that. I agree with it. So let's take a look at, I'll say something. It's kind of late now, but just for YouTube. But here is his natal This is the event chart. This is the event chart. Okay, so this is when the event occurred, the unaliving occurred. I don't see any kind of a pattern whatsoever on this chart. Okay, for starters, the rising on this chart is Libra. Guess what country Libra represents? Because I looked it up. Argentina. Okay. We've got up in the 9th house. So we're going to look at the 9th house because that would be foreign travel. Uranus. Surprising. Okay. He would be represented by the moon in the 3rd house who's traveling up in the 9th house. If we go over, he is represented by the purple circle, which is Venus. And there's communications. Neptune on the rising sign would be cloudiness, delusion. And it goes over to the military. So we've got a lot of things that are pointing to, nope. Okay, thanks, Howie. Howie's rebutting them now. But the thing is, I don't see anything here that shows anything nefarious, so to speak, of that it would have been the unaliving, which would be Pluto in the 12th and Uranus in the 8th. I don't see that. Let's take a look at his. Now, this is what gets interesting, you guys. His natal chart. I kept looking for something dark, you know, and he's got a Taurus sun, a moon in Capricorn, and a Libra rising. That would be somebody that would be very charming, steady, charming, very, you know, but Uranus is conjunct his rising. Now, Uranus, the rising sign, which is the first house, is his physical appearance, quirky haircuts, just quirky personality, unstable, electric. You never know what is going to happen with these people. They're quirky. That's the good word to use. Quirky. It is opposing his sun. That even amps it up even more. In the 8th house of occult. And we know he was interested in the occult. That's right there. So I looked at Mercury because he was a very fiery speaker. If you've ever watched him speak or heard him speak. Sure enough, Mercury was in Aries. Then we have Leo up in the 11th house. Now, Leo, we look to Leo for our born leaders. It's usually 10th or 11th house placements for rulers, kings, presidents. 10th and 11th house. And then I'm like, where is an unalive pattern in this chart? There is nothing. Zero. The only thing I could find was he was in his nodal return, his north node return, which is extremely fortunate. It's nothing will go wrong during a nodal return. Nothing. It's really a magical time of your life is a nodal return. You got to remember too, he had astrologers. They would have picked this date and said, you're in your nodal return. You are going, go then. You will be in good hands. Jupiter was in his 12th house transiting. Hiding would be easy. 12th house with ease. It was right around his birthday because his sun is almost conjunct his sun. I mean, Pluto was almost with Saturn, but other than that, nothing. Nothing nefarious in the event chart and nothing with his natal chart. Nothing. So we looked at his natal chart, and actually his natal chart, the only thing that's a little bit weird is the Uranus opposing the sun and Uranus conjunct his ascendant. When we look at power struggles, because, you know, he wanted power. We look at Pluto. Let's conjunct Neptune up in the 9th house. You know, okay, I get that, but it's nothing earth-shattering. His mother shows up. But then I thought, wait a minute. Uranus opposing his sun. The sun represents his father. Sun will always represent your father in a natal chart. He did not know who his father was, and it allegedly stuck with him his entire life that he was rejected. So that shows up in there with the sun. Okay. So then let's take a look at her chart. I think we're still on here, aren't we? We're not booted, are we? Because the chat's not moving. I don't think we're booted, are we? Somebody say something in the chat. So this is her chart. I think we're still on here, aren't we? Try to restart. Okay. They booted us off. Oh, okay. Linda says, no, we're good. Okay, I see you. We're good. I see you. Okay. Well, we're just going on YouTube. We're not going to worry about F-Book. We don't care. We don't care. So I think it's kind of a badge of courage. Okay, here is her chart. She is, she was a beautiful woman. Moon in Libra in the 5th house. She was a photographer, creative. She's a rising Gemini, chatty, personable, Sun in Aquarius. Whenever somebody can be famous, we look at the midheaven, how the public sees them. Her sun was connected to her midheaven. Sun can be the leader. So he made her famous. So see how her sun is connected to his midheaven. She has a grand trine. What we have, it looks like a big triangle in air signs with Uranus up there. So she liked the quirkiness. She liked the weirdness. She liked the weirdness. So on the day of the event of the alleged unaliving, we're going to look for some markers in her chart. Guess what? Venus is hitting her north node. That's beautiful. Venus is hitting her north node. So, in my opinion, in just my astrological opinion, neither one of these charts nor the event chart shows any unaliving. Nothing. Zero. So do I think they made it there? Yes. Libra is in the rising of the chart. That is Argentina. And her moon is in Libra. I mean, I think he did. I think we're going to find out when the other papers are released from Argentina. We're going to find out the truth. So I can't wait for that. It's interesting. So do you guys have anything you want to add to these charts? I think it's fascinating. Her Mars was in her rising sign. She was fiery. Another thing about his chart that I found interesting, he had 0 water, 0 emotions. Capricorn moon, pretty Taurus sun, pretty stiff. But, Libra rising, he would have been very personable. Fiery with that Aries. But it's interesting charts, I think. I think it's an interesting event charts as well. I think it's just powerful. I think it's very interesting. So that's that one. Now, to get to this one. Yeah. Now that we got booted. Whoops. Whoopsie. That's okay. You guys are still here, so that's okay. Now, this is another story that we've got. And for the people that were on FB, they can always flip over to YouTube. Just flip over to FluffTube. So this is this is a really bizarre story, you guys. March 28th, 10:15 a.m. Here we see Jessica Lyman, and look at this doll baby. Eli, 8 years old. They were found in their home by her daughter. So here she is with her children. She has 2 children, a teenage son, 15, and a 17-year-old daughter. Little Eli is 8, and there's Jessica Mama. Now, she came home, the daughter, and found Jessica and little Eli as, banged in the home. Okay, this is the beautiful home in Saratoga Springs, Utah. There's the picture of the home where the van is. That's their condo where the van is. So her daughter, her 17-year-old daughter, came in and found them. She was air cared to critical care and lived for 3 days and then succumbed to her injuries. Okay. Little Eli was pronounced unalived at the scene. The 15-year-old was up in his bedroom. Now, people are going to say, oh, why didn't he hear it? Why didn't he hear anything? Well, 15-year-olds wear headphones. They are gamers. They don't hear anything. So that's not shocking to me that he did not hear anything. The children are now with the 2 teenagers are with their father. That's all we know. That's it. Nothing. They have not released anything. The funerals were yesterday. They have not given any information out. They said they're still going through interviews. They've got subpoenas to do. But other than that, zero, nothing. So that tells me they probably know who committed this crime. So let's take a look at the event chart. The 17-year-old found them approximately 10:15 a.m., March 28th of this year. And we see the rising that's the victims. Gemini, 2 people. Remember, when we have dual signs like Libra on the other chart, 2 people are involved. This chart, Gemini, 2 people are involved. Okay? The perp would be who's ever the ruler of the 7th house, which is Sagittarius. We look at the 7th house. So that would be Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Look where Jupiter is. It's in the 1st house. So he was right in front of them. This occurred, somebody they saw, and they knew whoever it was. It happened right in front of them. There was no sneak attack, nothing. They knew who they were there. So we're going to look for some other markers because it occurred in the home, but there's nothing in the 4th house, which I found odd. However, if we go and look up to the 11th house, that's acquaintances, people that we know, friends, social circles. Older man is always the sun. So it was an older man that could be connected to the child. He's right with Mercury, which could be the child. Okay. Now, the father of the teenagers is not the father of Eli. They were step siblings. But, he could know something. He could have been on the phone. Certainly never would accuse anybody, but maybe he knows something. Law enforcement is represented by the 10th house. That 10th house is packed. They know exactly who did this. They know that I'm telling you, when the 10th house is packed like that, it's going to be solved, and it's going to be solved very quickly. They are represented by the moon up there in the 10th house. There she is as the female. The violence that came on, there it is, down in Mars in the 2nd house, which would be about material things. It was about money. It was money. Something involving money. They're going to find out because she is next to Neptune, which would represent video cameras and cameras. So cameras, they've got videos of this. Now, the 9th house kind of stumped me because Pluto would represent the unalive situation, or the, the not breathing situation. It could also mean a foreign person. Could be a foreign person. So that, and it was a surprise. It was a complete surprise, hidden. And it was a surprise, but he was right there in front of them. It was still a surprise because Uranus is in the 12th house. So that's what it looks like to me. Law enforcement is on it. They know. I think we're going to see an arrest very, 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 very quickly on it. But that's that chart. Have you guys heard of this particular case? Have you all heard of this case? It's an interesting case because they're keeping very, very quiet about this case. It's very tragic, very, very tragic, I think. But the astrology is really telling us a lot with this particular case. It really is. It's telling us, hey, the police have it. They knew who it was. They were right in front of them. Older man could be connected to the little child. It could be a neighbor that knew the child. We don't know. We just don't know. Yeah, this happened on March 28th. That's funny, Carrie, that you said that, because it's being kept quiet here too. Carrie's not heard about it, and Lois has not at all. Yeah, and same with Lee. I didn't hear it. Very sad. They're going to. When you ever look at a chart like that, Lois and the 10th house is packed. That's what law enforcement is doing. And when it's packed like that, they're on it. They're on it. And if we're mapping somebody and that's a packed 10th house, we always know they're going to be found. When they're not found, it's the 12th house, because the 12th house indicates things that are hidden. So if I'm looking for somebody and I'm mapping it, and the 12th house is empty or has some planets in it, like Saturn or Pluto, or who that person is supposed to be, they are represented by Mercury, because Gemini is in the rising sign. So they're represented by Mercury as the ruler. So they're up there. Saturn sometimes will show us where remains are. If Saturn were in the 12th house, they're well hidden. So then that gives you an indication that might be a while. So that's that chart. And you can see that Mars, look at all the lines that Mars is attached to. It's attached to her. It's attached to Mercury, which represents them, mother and son. So, and it's also attached to Pluto, which can also be a chaos, an attack. The 9th house could also be a major highway. It could also be a place, universities. It all depends how the chart reads out. But the perp was right there with them. So we'll have to wait and see and watch this one. Hidden. Yep. Hidden. That's correct. So you guys, I'm sorry if people were on FB and they got booted. I hope people joined us over here. I hope they didn't say, oh no, Joni was having computer issues the other night. So look, you guys, I was feeding farm animals. Joni, you have to throw in another person so I can watch at least an hour. Dude, we had 2 shows. I did 2. And I was ranting that you always want 2. So you're going to have to go back and watch it on FB because we got booted off of Facebook for naming the first case that we did. Tammy, we got booted off of Facebook. I hope that channel doesn't get like in trouble for it. Whoops. Yeah, you have to rewatch it because this is who it was on. I'll show you a picture. So we got booted. There's the picture of him. But I understand because there's a lot of that rhetoric going around on social media right now where people are getting injured and items are getting destroyed and people are calling that word out. And I get it. They don't want the rhetoric. I understand it. But this was not about the rhetoric. It was about his astrology. It's not about inciting anything. So, but I understand why social media would be watching it. And you know what? I'm glad they are because nobody should be getting injured or things should not be getting destroyed. It's terrible. It's terrible that that's happening. So yeah, Tam, watch it on YouTube. So you guys, that's the show for tonight. This hour went by pretty quickly. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I'll keep you updated. There's not a whole lot going on in the true crime community. That it's been a little slow. I did bring you this case because I thought it was important. It's an important case. But the one that we talked about was iffy. You know, because you get booted off. So, whoops. Whoops. Too bad. Too bad. But again, I think it's kind of a badge of courage to say that I'm not going to go around your censorship. You know, whoopee. I'm not, but I do. But I understand it completely. So you guys have a great, wonderful, wonderful week. And I will see you guys next Wednesday at 8 p.m. for another bit of news. And Lee is talking about there's an update on one of the cases. Oh, is it? We've done that case. What's the update? Tell us the update, Lee, and we can share it. I missed my Joni time. You need to set your alarm. Set your alarm, Miss Tammy. That's funny. You're welcome, hon. I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's doing well. Staying safe, staying snuggy. It's almost spring. We're getting there. I will give you guys a little, now we've got a couple of minutes. This is very interesting information that I've got. You know what? I'm going to get this picture off of here so we don't get in trouble. This is very interesting that's going on right now currently in the astrology. And it's, as astrologers right now in 2025, it's honestly more than what we can do to keep up with it. It is, it's incredible. It's biblical. It's historical. I have never seen anything like it in my life as to what's going on astrologically. But I did notice today that I noticed it this morning, Saturn and Neptune are coming together for what we are calling another great conjunction. A conjunction is when the two meet up. The two meet up. The last time we had a great conjunction that I can recall was in 2020, right before the lockdowns. That's what a great conjunction can do when two outers come together. It's unusual. This pattern happens to be with Neptune and with Saturn. It's a dissolving of boundaries. It's a dissolving of the old guard. But the last time that Neptune and Saturn were together, it started the domino effect for the fall. It's in 1989 when the Berlin Wall fell. Now, if you recall those incidents, Hungary, Poland, East Germany, they all started to go away from that other country. And then eventually, a couple of years later, that big country fell. And it became the country that we know of today, which is a lot freer. So we have a heads up right now that it just went into orb today, which means they're within 5 degrees of one another. The energy is very, very strong. They get very, very close. Then they start to retro away from one another. I'm not sure, or they get very, very close, but they don't conjunct until 2026. But we are going to start feeling and get a preview of what's to come in 2026. So keep a heads up. It is huge. This is a huge, great conjunction. Again, this has not occurred since 1989. So we've got to keep our eyes open. Keep our eyes open, everybody. We've got Miss Carrie Lynn Shellhorn chatting frequencies next Friday on Spirit Switchboard. So everybody hop on to next Friday on Spirit Switchboard with Miss Carrie Lynn. And I will be on Carrie Lynn's show on Good Friday, which on Spirit Switchboard, which I don't know the date, but I know it's Good Friday. And we are going to discuss all of this astrology that is really, it's quite overwhelming. I think if you are reading any astrologers that you follow right now, you can kind of pick up on their blogs or what they're writing about, how historical this is right now. Again, seeing things that have never been seen or recorded in history before, back to 3000 BC is pretty phenomenal. We're living through that right now. So pay freaking attention. You are literally living through history right now. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Don't wake up and say, well, I didn't know that was happening. Keep an eye on everything, especially in April. April is just jamming, and then it just goes on. It goes on to like 2030. It stops in 2030. So get ready, fasten your seatbelts, but it's all favorable. It's positive. It's a bump. People don't like change. It's coming. It's inevitable. So listen, everybody, make sure and catch Carrie Lynn. And I will be on there on Good Friday. We'll have a blast. I love being on her show. She's so much fun. And thanks you guys for tuning in. Please like, and if people got booted off of Facebook, finish it up on YouTube. It wasn't my computer. So for sure. And I will see you guys next Wednesday for a new edition of Mystery. So have a great week. Be kind, laugh, smile, enjoy the weekend. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And I will see you guys next Wednesday. Have a good one. Thank you. Good night.